You think Christmas candy in the 1970s was just chocolate bars and store-bought sweets? Get ready, because once you discover these long-lost homemade holiday treasures, you'll never look at modern Christmas treats the same again. And I promise you've forgotten more of them than you realize. Panouche fudge.
And it's called panocha or panucci, depending on where you live.
Before glossy store-bought chocolates took over holiday tables, there was panuche fudge. The caramel brown square that felt like it carried December's warmth inside it. Made from brown sugar, butter, and milk, it filled 1970s kitchens with that deep, molasses-rich aroma no factory has ever been able to recreate. This wasn't candy you could rush. It demanded patience, a steady hand, and the nerve to hold the pot over the heat until it reached the exact softball stage. Once cooled and beaten, it transformed into smooth, velvety blocks topped with walnut halves that gleamed like tiny crowns. Families guarded their recipes like treasure, passing them down like heirlooms. And just when you thought this was the most nostalgic treat of the decade, wait until you see the next forgotten candy hiding in the shadows of memory. Divinity candy. Some Christmas candies didn't just sit on the table, they floated there. Or at least that's how Divinity felt in the 1970s. Pure white, glossy, and impossibly airy, it looked like tiny snowdrifts scooped from winter clouds. Making it was a daring little performance, boiling syrup to the edge of danger while whipping egg whites into stiff peaks, then pouring the molten sugar in a slow, shining ribbon. The mixture thickened into soft, heavenly mounds that held their shape like angelic sculptures. A pecan pressed gently on top turned each piece into a miniature crown of sweetness. Families knew it was temperamental. Humidity could ruin a whole batch, but that only made a perfect one feel like a small miracle. But if Divinity was the angel of Christmas candy, the next forgotten treat brings something far earthier and far more surprising. Bourbon balls.
Kentucky bourbon balls. It's a great treat, and
Rich, warm, and unmistakably grown up, bourbon balls were the little holiday indulgence that felt almost secret. Each bite carried a velvety mix of crushed cookies, cocoa, and a slow, sweet burn of real bourbon. The kind of treat that made adults smile and whisper, "Just one more." They weren't flashy, but they had character. Soft on the inside, dusted or dipped on the outside, and always wrapped in a sense of old-fashioned celebration. These candies lived in tins tucked on high shelves, brought out only when company came over, or when the Christmas lights were low and the house felt peaceful. They belonged to an era when holiday treats were crafted by hand, not mass-produced, and every batch tasted a little different depending on who made them.
But their disappearance leaves a question lingering in the air.
What other once-beloved holiday treasures vanished before we even noticed? Chocolate peppermint creams. Cool, minty, and silk smooth, chocolate peppermint creams were the kind of Christmas candy that melted before you even finished the bite. A snowy white peppermint center wrapped in a glossy coat of dark or milk chocolate. Simple, elegant, and unmistakably festive. They came in little foil-wrapped pieces that rattled softly in candy bowls, offering that perfect balance of refreshing coolness and winter night sweetness. These treats carried a quiet charm. No bright packaging, no gimmicks, just pure holiday flavor made with care. Grandparents kept them in glass jars, and kids always remembered that burst of mint following the richness of chocolate. But like many small batch delights of the 70s, they slipped away as newer, louder candies took over supermarket shelves.
And now one can't help but wonder,
what other forgotten flavors are waiting in the shadows, ready to stir an old memory back to life? Peanut brittle, homemade style. Back in the 1970s, homemade peanut brittle wasn't just candy, it was a Christmas ritual. The kitchen filled with the crackle of bubbling sugar, the warm aroma of toasted peanuts, and that satisfying moment when the golden sheet hit the counter to cool. Thin, glassy, and surprisingly delicate, each shard delivered a fierce sweetness, followed by the earthy crunch of roasted nuts. It stuck to your teeth, made you laugh mid-bite, and always tasted like someone's careful patience. This brittle wasn't mass-produced, perfectly shaped, or wrapped in plastic. It was uneven, jagged, and proudly handmade, the kind of treat that carried the personality of the cook who made it. Families guarded their recipes, and every batch tasted a little different, a little special. But as the old ways faded, so did this holiday masterpiece. And now you have to wonder, which forgotten kitchen craft is waiting to break back into the story next? Potato candy.
And that is old-fashioned potato candy.
Sweet, soft, and surprisingly addictive, Potato candy was the kind of Christmas treat that made newcomers raise an eyebrow until the first bite won them over. Made from mashed potatoes, powdered sugar, and a swirl of creamy peanut butter, it created a melt-in-your-mouth roll that tasted far richer than its humble ingredients suggested. This wasn't fancy store-bought candy. It was pure Depression-era ingenuity passed down through the 70s, turning simple pantry items into something magical. Kids loved watching the dough come together. Adults smiled at the nostalgia, and everyone agreed that no two rolls ever tasted exactly the same. Its sweetness was bold, its texture unforgettable, and its charm rooted in the warmth of homemade traditions. But as modern treats took over, the old potato-based wonder quietly slipped out of holiday kitchens.
And now the question lingers softly in the air.
What other unlikely ingredients once created Christmas magic you've completely forgotten about? Rocky Road squares. Soft, crunchy, chocolatey. Rocky Road squares were the Christmas treat that felt like a whole holiday party packed into a single bite. Marshmallows, nuts, and rich melted chocolate came together in a messy, irresistible block that families sliced into uneven squares, each piece bursting with a different texture. Some bites were chewy, others crunchy, and every one of them tasted like pure 1970s coziness. These squares didn't need perfection. Their magic came from the chaos, colors, shapes, and flavors colliding into one sweet avalanche. Moms made big pans of it for school events, neighbors traded batches wrapped in wax paper, and kids always went digging for the piece with the most marshmallows. But as store-bought candies grew flashier and uniform, these homemade lumpy treasures quietly slipped out of holiday rotation.
And now it leaves you wondering,
what other chaotic Christmas classic vanished before anyone noticed it was gone? Church windows, marshmallow mosaic bars. Bright, colorful, and almost jewel-like, church windows were the Christmas candy that felt like unwrapping a stained glass window you could eat. Melted chocolate and butter wrapped around pastel marshmallows, all rolled tightly in coconut or crushed graham crackers before being sliced into glowing mosaic rounds. Every slice looked different, a swirl of colors frozen inside chocolate, making it one of the most eye-catching treats of the 1970s holiday table. Kids loved the colors, adults loved the richness, and everyone loved how simple yet show-stopping it was. These bars carried a special, homemade pride. No factory shine, no commercial polish, just soft marshmallows glowing through the chocolate like tiny Christmas lights. But as trends changed and recipes modernized, this charming church basement classic slipped quietly into memory. And now a quiet thought flickers. What other forgotten edible artwork from Christmas past is waiting to be revealed next? Marzipan fruits. Delicate, colorful, and crafted with almost artistic devotion, marzipan fruits were once a Christmas showstopper. Made from almond paste and sugar, each tiny pear, apple, or berry was shaped by hand, painted with gentle brushstrokes, and displayed on holiday tables like edible ornaments. Their soft, sweet almond flavor made every bite feel luxurious. A treat that blended old-world tradition with 1970s holiday charm. Kids admired how real they looked. Adults appreciated the craftsmanship, and every household had its own favorite shape or color. These weren't rushed, store-bought sweets. They were little sculptures, formed patiently in warm kitchens and gifted with pride. Their beauty was as important as their taste, turning dessert plates into miniature winter gardens. But as faster, simpler candies took over, these elegant creations faded quietly from Christmas celebrations. And now you can't help but wonder, what other holiday masterpiece, once shaped by hand, is still hiding just beyond memory's edge? Ribbon candy, hand-pulled homemade version. Glossy, colorful, and almost impossibly delicate, hand-pulled ribbon candy was a Christmas marvel long before machines took over. In the 1970s, families who still made it by hand knew the ritual well, heating sugar until it shimmered, folding in bright winter colors, then stretching and looping it into those signature ripples before the candy cooled into glassy perfection. Each strip looked like a frozen wave of holiday cheer, twisting with peppermint or cinnamon scent that floated through the entire kitchen. No two ribbons were the same, each carrying the fingerprints of the person who shaped it. This wasn't quick, convenient candy. It demanded timing, skill, and a fearless willingness to work with scorching sugar. But once finished, it felt like holding a piece of Christmas magic, fragile, beautiful, and gone in a single satisfying crunch.
and it makes you wonder,
which other vanished craft candy traditions are still waiting to curl their way back into the holiday spotlight? Molasses taffy pull candy. Deep, dark, and bursting with old-fashioned warmth, molasses taffy pull candy was a 1970s Christmas delight that brought families together long before streaming or smartphones existed. The mixture of molasses, butter, and sugar simmered into a rich amber glow, filling the kitchen with a warm, smoky sweetness that felt like winter itself. But the real magic came afterward, the taffy pull. Hands buttered, laughter echoing, everyone stretching the glossy rope of candy until it lightened in color and became perfectly chewy. Feeling inspired to revive a lost holiday tradition? Try making your own molasses taffy pull this season and bring that sticky, sweet nostalgia back to life. It was sticky, messy, and unforgettable. This candy wasn't about perfection, it was about moments. The uneven bites, the soft chew, the little strings of taffy that clung to your fingertips. All of it created a memory wrapped in molasses and joy. As traditions faded and fewer families took on the challenge, this rich holiday favorite slipped into obscurity. And now a quiet whisper rises from the past. Could the next forgotten treat hold a secret even sweeter, or perhaps stickier, than this one? Date nut roll. Soft, sweet, and wonderfully old-fashioned, date nut roll was the kind of Christmas candy that felt like it came straight from a grandmother's recipe drawer. Warm dates simmered down into a thick, caramel-like paste, then folded with crisp walnuts, and rolled into a log that sliced into perfect little spirals. Each piece offered a tender chew, a mellow sweetness, and a buttery crunch that felt both rustic and luxurious. In the 1970s, this was a holiday staple, wrapped in wax paper, chilled overnight, and served on glass dishes that only came out in December. Its charm was simple. No artificial colors, no flashy packaging, just pure homemade goodness created with patience and love. You could taste the tradition in every bite, the kind of treat that slowed down the room for a moment. But as quick treats replaced slow craft, this cozy classic drifted quietly out of Christmas kitchens. And yet, as it disappears into memory, a subtle question lingers like a secret. Is the next forgotten candy a gentle comfort like this one? Or something entirely unexpected hiding in the shadows of holiday history? Cherry Mash Christmas Bars. Rich, decadent, and slightly mysterious, Cherry Mash Christmas Bars were the kind of holiday candy that felt like a secret indulgence reserved for special occasions. Chopped maraschino cherries mingled with smooth chocolate and crunchy chopped peanuts, pressed into thick bars that gleamed like winter jewels. In the 1970s, these bars were a staple at bake sales and neighborhood exchanges. Their sweet tart cherry flavor paired with the satisfying snap of chocolate, creating a symphony of textures in every bite. Making them at home was a labor of love, folding ingredients carefully to maintain the perfect balance of chewiness and crunch. What made them unforgettable was the way they seemed to vanish instantly from platters, leaving only crumbs and a memory of something extraordinary. And just when you think the plate is empty, curiosity creeps in. What other candy treasures linger in the shadows, waiting to be rediscovered this Christmas? Butterscotch haystacks. Crunchy, golden, and impossibly sweet, butterscotch haystacks were the whimsical candy of 1970s holiday tables. Melted butterscotch, mixed with buttery chow mein noodles or shredded coconut, then dropped in rustic little mounds that looked like miniature golden nests. Each bite delivered a satisfying snap, followed by a creamy, rich sweetness that lingered on the tongue. Kids loved them for their playful shape and the ease of popping them straight from the plate, while adults admired the rich, buttery depth that hinted at more grown-up flavors. These haystacks weren't just candy, they were tiny sculptures, each one unique and imperfectly perfect, capturing the carefree spirit of Christmas kitchens long ago. But as store-bought treats began to dominate, these homemade treasures slowly disappeared. And now, in the quiet corners of memory, a new question arises. What could be the next candy, hiding behind layers of sugar and mystery, ready to surprise your taste buds? Old-fashioned hardtack candy. Glassy, jewel-like, and shimmering in every hue, old-fashioned hardtack candy was the candy that demanded patience and precision. Stovetop sugar, water, and a touch of cream of tartar boiled to the perfect temperature, then poured onto buttered slabs and cut into translucent squares or delicate twists. The crunch was satisfying, the sweetness clean, and the colors dazzling, reds, greens, and golds, catching the light like tiny holiday ornaments. In the 1970s, these candies were often gifted in glass jars, passed along with a wink and a promise of homemade excellence. Every bite was a testament to the maker's skill, a candy that seemed simple, but required exacting attention. Over time, as convenience overtook craft, These candies quietly vanished from most kitchens. And yet, as the memories fade, a question lingers. Which other forgotten delights from that era are waiting just around the corner, ready to sparkle on your tongue? Maple sugar candy.
Today I'm going to be making maple sugar candy.
Golden, delicate, and melting almost before it touched your tongue, maple sugar candy was the essence of winter warmth in 1970s kitchens. Pure maple syrup, boiled slowly to just the right stage, was poured into molds or pressed into flat squares, capturing the rich, woody sweetness of the trees it came from. Each piece carried a faint aroma of caramel and smoke, a subtle reminder of cold December mornings and cozy family gatherings. Making it required patience, a watchful eye, and respect for the sugar's exact moment of perfection. Too long, and it would harden. Too short, and it would be sticky chaos. This candy wasn't just a treat. It was a ritual, a labor of love that turned nature's bounty into holiday magic. And just when the last golden square is savored, one can't help but wonder, what other vanished confections from the past hold secrets waiting to be unwrapped next? Chocolate-covered orange peel. Bittersweet chocolate wrapped around thin, candied strips of bright orange peel. Chocolate-covered orange peel was the sophisticated candy that made 1970s holiday platters feel like a gourmet adventure. The process was deceptively simple, yet demanded patience. Peel oranges carefully, remove the bitter pith, simmer in sugar syrup until translucent, then dry and dip in rich dark chocolate. Each bite began with the tangy, slightly bitter citrus, followed by the smooth, luxurious chocolate, creating a dance of flavors that lingered long after the treat was gone. This candy was a showpiece for home cooks who wanted to impress, a tiny indulgence that captured both artistry and flavor. Its rarity made it a treasure on any Christmas table. And as the chocolate melts on your tongue, a question teases the imagination. Which other forgotten candies from that golden era are poised to appear next? Coconut ice bars. Pink and white layers of sweetened coconut pressed into bars, coconut ice was the candy that turned every holiday gathering into a colorful celebration. In 1970s kitchens, making these bars required careful layering of coconut, sugar, and a touch of cream to achieve the signature contrast of soft pink and snowy white. Each slice revealed a chewy, melt-in-your-mouth texture, intensely coconut-forward and sweet without being overpowering. They were often cut into neat rectangles and wrapped in wax paper, appearing on cookie trays like edible jewels. Coconut ice bars were more than candy. They were a visual delight, a labor of love that showed attention to detail and a flair for festive presentation. And just when the last bar disappears from the plate, one can't help but ask, what other hidden treasures from the 1970s candy world are ready to resurface next? Brown sugar caramels. Soft, buttery, and irresistibly chewy, brown sugar caramels were the crown jewels of 1970s homemade Christmas candy. Made by slowly cooking brown sugar, butter, and cream to the perfect temperature, then pouring the golden mixture into buttered pans to set. Each square delivered deep caramel richness with just a hint of molasses. Families treasured the aroma that filled kitchens, a warm, inviting scent that signaled the holidays had truly arrived. Cutting them into perfect little squares and wrapping them individually in wax paper added a personal touch that made every bite feel like a gift. These caramels were proof that patience and care could transform simple ingredients into decadent treasures loved by both young and old.
And as the last caramel melts in your mouth, a thought lingers.
Which other long-lost festive treats from the 1970s await rediscovery next? Opera creams. Delicate, pale pink, yellow, and white fondant centers enveloped in glossy chocolate. Opera creams were the elegant candies that elevated 1970s holiday tables. Each piece was a masterpiece of balance. Smooth, creamy filling with a firm chocolate shell, sometimes topped with a tiny candied decoration. Purchased from local candy shops or made by ambitious home confectioners, opera creams represented sophistication and a touch of luxury. Every bite melted perfectly on the tongue, leaving a clean sweetness and a memory of festive indulgence that lingered long after the last piece disappeared. These candies weren't just treats, they were symbols of style, refinement, and attention to detail that marked the holidays with a touch of class.
And as the chocolate dissolves, one can't help but wonder,
what other forgotten delicacies from this golden era of Christmas candy are about to be revealed next? Nougat Christmas squares. Chewy, sweet, and studded with pistachios, almonds, and candied cherries, Nougat Christmas squares were the ambitious showpieces of 1970s holiday candy making. Crafting them at home required precision, patience, and a steady hand, as sugar syrups had to be cooked to exact temperatures and combined with beaten egg whites before folding in the nuts and fruit. The result was a soft, pliable confection that held its shape yet yielded satisfyingly with each bite. Families marveled at the bursts of nutty crunch and fruity sweetness, a testament to the skill of the candy maker. Nougat was the candy that transformed a simple dessert tray into a centerpiece of culinary artistry and festive pride. And as the last bite disappears, curiosity rises. Which other long-lost treasures from the 1970s Christmas candy world await discovery next? Seafoam candy, honeycomb sponge. Light, airy, and delicately sweet, seafoam candy was the ethereal delight that graced 1970s Christmas candy dishes. Made by combining brown sugar, white sugar, corn syrup, and water with beaten egg whites, this honeycomb-like confection puffed up into crisp, golden mounds with a lightly crunchy exterior and a soft, melting interior. Some versions added a touch of green coloring to enhance its whimsical appearance, making it look as magical as it tasted. The flavor was a sophisticated balance of caramel sweetness and subtle nuttiness, a treat that felt both indulgent and refined. Seafoam was candy artistry, capturing attention with its airy texture and delicate crunch, leaving every taster impressed. And as the last piece dissolves, one can't help but ask, what other forgotten marvels of 1970s holiday candy are waiting just around the corner? Martha Washington candy balls. Velvety, rich, and elegantly simple, Martha Washington candy balls were the signature homemade candies of the 1970s holiday table. Crafted from finely crushed cookies, sugar, cocoa, and a touch of butter, each ball was hand-rolled and sometimes coated in powdered sugar or chopped nuts. The result was a melt-in-your-mouth treat that combined a subtle chocolate depth with a delicate, crumbly texture, making every bite feel luxurious yet comforting. These candies were often passed from one generation to the next, a symbol of tradition and holiday craftsmanship in kitchens across America. If this nostalgia has you craving a homemade holiday treat, why not try making Martha Washington candy balls yourself this season? Martha Washington candy balls were more than sweets. They were a test of patience, precision, and festive flair. And just as you savor the final bite, what other hidden gems from 1970s Christmas candy lore could still surprise us? Chocolate rum snowballs. Decadent, boozy, and dusted with a snowy coat of powdered sugar, chocolate rum snowballs were the grown-up indulgence of 1970s Christmas candy tables. Made by blending crushed cookies, cocoa, butter, and a generous splash of dark rum, each ball was rolled by hand into perfect spheres and then gently coated to resemble freshly fallen snow. The first bite revealed a tender, chocolatey center with a warming rum kick that lingered on the tongue, creating a festive sense of sophistication. These treats were conversation starters at holiday gatherings, always savored slowly, often hidden from the eyes of eager children. Chocolate rum. Snowballs were the epitome of holiday elegance and cheeky indulgence. And as the last dusting melts away, what other forgotten delights of the 1970s await to enchant our taste buds next? Candied walnuts and pecans, holiday spice version. Crunchy, sweet, and spiced with cinnamon, nutmeg, and a hint of clove, these candied nuts were the quintessential finishing touch to 1970s holiday tables. Coated in a delicate caramelized sugar glaze, each walnut and pecan piece offered a satisfying snap, followed by a warm, aromatic spice that filled kitchens with festive cheer. They weren't just snacks. They were the perfect garnish for desserts, the ideal addition to cheese platters, and a crunchy treat straight from the candy dish. The careful coating process required patience. The sugar had to caramelize without burning, the spices sprinkled at just the right moment to release their fragrant magic. Candied walnuts and pecans captured the essence of holiday craftsmanship. And as the last nut disappears, what other forgotten treasures from 1970s Christmas kitchens could still be waiting to be rediscovered? These forgotten candies tell a story of patience, tradition, and holiday joy that today's store-bought treats can't quite capture. From rich fudges to delicate marzipan fruits, each confection was a labor of love, a memory in every bite, and a celebration of craftsmanship. If this trip down memory lane made your mouth water, don't let these recipes fade into history. Try making one of these classic treats this holiday season and bring back the magic to your kitchen.
And if you loved exploring these nostalgic Christmas candies, Subscribe, like, and share so we can uncover even more sweet treasures from the past together.
Which candy will you make first? The choice is yours, but the nostalgia is inevitable.